Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on today's video, I'm going to press a DTF transfer onto this shirt. Now this is a shirt that I just got at the Dollar Tree store, but it's actually very nice quality. I'm going to use my Procolored DTF printer. I'm going to print onto this Yamation DTF film. Once it prints out, I'll come right back here. I'll put the powder on the back. This is what acts as the adhesive to hold the print onto your shirt or to cause the ink to stick to your shirt. Then I'm going to cure it in my DTF curing oven. Now this is a pretty fast process, so stick around and check it out. Now I will put links to everything in the video description. I do want to let you know Procolored is having their big Black Friday sale right now, so it's a good time if you're in the market and if you are going to buy one anyway. If you use my referral link below, thank you so much. Now here's our print, and there's the back side. So it is time to powder this. I'm using my go-to powder. It is Yamation powder, and they used to have fine, medium, and coarse. My understanding is they discontinued or are discontinuing the fine, so now I've been using the medium. And so far I've loved it. It's worked out really well. So I shook this up maybe 30 minutes ago or so. I wanted it to have time to settle, but I shook it up to get the clumps out. And then I just keep this little cup down in here, and I am going to pour a lot of this powder on. You always can put it back into the container, and so to me, I'd rather use too much than not enough. And by too much, I just mean more than what I need on my sheet. So now I'm going to go ahead and tilt this back and forth. And I like to do this several times, somewhere around 6 times. 4 to 6 times is fine. And I've lost count, so I'm just going to do 2 more and call it good. Now you want to make sure you get every bit of this design covered with that powder. This is actually the adhesive that's going to make it stick to your shirt. So then I just tap off all the extra, and then I'll be able to put this right back in the container. For now, I want to run over to my curing oven, put this inside. All right, while that's curing, let me go ahead and put this right back in this container. Now the paper that I'm using, it's just butcher paper, and I tend to reuse it quite a few times before I throw it away. And then I also like to use a glove on the hand that I use to get the powder out of the container. While we're waiting on the little craft press to heat up, let me tell you just a couple of things. If you are doing DTF or other things that might have fumes that aren't good for you, I suggest wearing a respirator mask. This is one I just got off of Amazon. When I'm not in front of the camera, I'm wearing this when I'm doing sublimation, when I'm doing DTF, and some other things. Then secondly, this is what the Yamation powder comes in. The container that you saw is one that I got at the Dollar Tree store. I cut out the label and I just taped that onto the front of that container. So if you order some, it's probably going to come like this. Now, even though this isn't up to 325 yet, which is what I use for DTF transfers, I want to go ahead and preheat my shirt. It does 2 things. The main thing is it removes moisture. So whether you're using vinyl, rhinestones, DTF, I would always recommend that you preheat your shirt. So we're going to remove moisture, and then second, it does provide a nice flat surface for you to put your items on. It is up to almost 300. I'm going to go ahead and preheat this for about 10 seconds. Now, I just realized this press is barely big enough to put my image on, so I probably will press it twice. I'll err on the side of having one end covered, I'll move it, and I'll do the other end. Usually I use a 15 by 15 press, and it is one that you can set your own pressure on. I prefer those for DTF. All right, so let's go ahead and get this on. Let me find the center of it. When I find the center of it, I can just pinch at the top and at the bottom if I want to. Sometimes I just pinch at the top. And then I'm going to have it down about 3 inches below the collar. Now let me get some heat resistant tape and tape that down. This step isn't required, but I like to put the tape on because I'm putting my image on my shirt here. If I were putting the image on up on the heat press, I wouldn't worry about it. And really all I need is enough to keep it where it is right here. Okay, I didn't even move it. I checked it with my ruler. It was in a good place. So we're going to heat this up, 325 for 10 seconds. And I want to make sure I have a really nice firm pressure. All right, let's do this. Now the little pads on this press come off, and so I just slid those forward. I'll get this placed. And I can kind of feel if it's going to cover the whole thing because the size of the pads are basically the size of the press. And actually, I think this is going to do it in one shot. Okay, so I'm going to slide that back into place. I always like to make sure that the collar is not on top of the pad. I don't want to put pressure and heat on that collar. Again, we're going to do this 325 for 10 seconds. And I actually think that pressure was pretty good. If I wanted to tighten it, I could, but that was pretty good pressure. Now I need to let this cool off. While I'm letting it cool off, I'm going to go ahead and find my parchment paper. I like to do a second press after you take the film off with parchment paper. To me, that just really melts it down into the fibers of your shirt, and it gives a better look and a better feel. Now, because this has been on my table and my table's kind of cool, it feels cool already. It really hasn't been very long since I put it down there, but let me turn it around so we can peel this off together. Well, I'm going to try to. Good. The ink all came off. Let's just go ahead and throw that away. That's really cute. Let me show you. Now remember, we're going to do that second press. Right now, this is smooth. It's smooth and it's slippery. It's very light feeling, but it is smooth and slippery. I want to get that down into those fibers. Now, I don't know if you could use other things like a Teflon sheet on this. I would not use just regular butcher paper. I would be afraid maybe it would stick. I just always use parchment paper. We're going to do this 10 more seconds. I'm done with the press, so I went ahead and turned that off. That looks better, and it feels so much better. Now it almost feels like it's just part of the shirt, especially where you have smaller areas like the writing or the little ornaments that are on the tree. On the main part of it, you can still feel it. It's still smooth and slightly slippery, but it does feel better. Now it looks like you can see the impression of where the heat press was. Maybe this is like red. Have you ever pressed a red shirt and you pulled your heat press off and it was darker where the heat press was? Hopefully this goes back to the regular color. If not, what I'll do is I'll just put this bottom part of the shirt in. Actually, I'm just going to do it now because that's bothering me. And I'll press this. The press is off, but it's still hot. I'll press this about 10 seconds. All right, let's see if that did anything. Yep, it sure did. Now you probably saw that the shirt under where the press was, it's a little bit of a different color. It's quite a bit of a different color. It's probably this fabric. So this fabric is 95% viscose and 5% elastane. I hope that goes back to the regular color. If it doesn't, I've learned a lesson, and it was only $1.25 at the Dollar Tree store. As for the DTF print, it looks good. Now, thanks so much for joining me today. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. And if you do subscribe, make sure to tap that bell and then select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content.